Welcome back to more hymn stories, number 34. He the pearly gates will open. Love divine, so great and wondrous, deep and mighty, pure, sublime, coming from the heart of Jesus, just the same, through tests of time. He the pearly gates will open, so that I may enter in, for he purchased my redemption, and forgave me all my sin. Like a sparrow hunted, frightened, weak, and helpless, so was I. Wounded, fallen, yet he healed me. He will heed the sinner's cry. He the pearly gates will open, so that I may enter in. For he purchased my redemption, and forgave me all my sin. Love divine, so great and wondrous, all my sins he then forgave. I will sing his praises forever, for his blood, his power to save. He the pearly gates will open, so that I may enter in. For he purchased my redemption, and forgave me all my sin. In life's eventide at twilight, at his door I'll knock and wait. By the precious love of Jesus I shall enter heaven's gate. He the pearly gates will open, so that I may enter in. For he purchased my redemption, and forgave me all my sin. He the pearly gates will open. The author of this hymn is Frederick A. Blom, 1867 to 1927. The English translation was by Nathaniel Carlson in 1879 to 1957, and the composer was Elsie R. Alwyn, 1905 was when he or she was born. And the scripture reading for this hymn is 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9, and reads, But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man, the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. This is another of the heartwarming Swedish songs that has become meaningful not only to Swedish descendants, but to Christians worldwide. Having been translated into more than a dozen languages, other popular hymns of Scandinavian origin found in most evangelical hymnals include More Secure Is No One Ever, Thanks to God, and, one of my favorites, Day by Day. The author of this text, Frederick Arvid Blom, was born on May 21st, 1867, near Enköping, Sweden. He came to the United States in the 1890s and became an officer in the Salvation Army in Chicago. Later, Blom studied at North Park College and Seminary and then pastored Mission Covenant, now Evangelical Covenant churches, until 1915. Through various circumstances, Mr. Blom fell into deep sin and eventually spent time in prison. He explained, I drifted from God and became embittered with myself, the world, and not the least with ministers who looked on me with suspicion because I was a member of the Socialist Party. Sometime later, Blom was restored in his fellowship with God at a Salvation Army meeting and once again resumed a pastorate at a Swedish Congregational church in Titusville, Pennsylvania, until returning to Sweden in 1921. There he pastored several churches until his death on May 24, 1927, at Uddevalla, Sweden. It is generally believed that Frederick Blom wrote the text for these verses either in prison or shortly after his spiritual restoration. The words, no doubt, reflect his backslidden condition, especially verses 2 and 3, as well as the joy of the renewed fellowship with the Lord. Like a sparrow, hunted, frightened, weak and helpless, so was I. Wounded, fallen, yet he healed me. I will heed the sinner's cry. Love divine, so great and wondrous, all my sins he then forgave. I will sing his praise forever, for his blood, his power to save. Lum evidently wrote a number of other hymns throughout his ministry, but only this one is known and sung in our country. The English translation of this Swedish text was made by Nathaniel Carlson, an evangelical free church pastor. Carlson translated numerous songs from the Swedish language and also wrote original texts and composed a number of tunes. His works were published between 1929 and 1932 in 3 different editions, titled Songs of Trust and Triumph. The composer, Elsie R. Alwyn, was also born in Sweden and came to the United States as a young woman. After her studies at the Moody Bible Institute, Chicago, Illinois, became a full-time evangelist and reaching the Swedish immigrant population in the Chicago area. He, the Pearly Gates Will Open, had been known to Miss Alwyn for some time, and she often sang them to her own melody in her evangelistic ministry. One day, while conducting a service in Chicago, Miss Alwyn was approached by an elderly man who presented her with the words for the 4 stanzas, which had previously been written by Frederick Blom, following his backslidden and spiritual renewal experience. Upon completion of the music for the entire text, the hymn came to be the popular theme song for Elsie Alwyn's ministry. Miss Alwyn later married Daniel A. Sundin, a businessman who shared her in her ministry as well as in the raising of a family. Upon the sudden death of her husband in 1962, Miss Sundin penned these words: "It is difficult to see beyond the bend in the road where your loved one disappeared. But how good it is to know that when my Lord calls me, the pearly gates will open, not because of my worthiness, but because he purchased my salvation." Since her retirement, Elsie R. Alwyn Sundin has resided in Manchester, New Hampshire. If the Father deigns to touch with divine power and cold and pulseless heart of the buried acorn, and to make the burst forth from its prison walls, he will leave neglected on earth the soul of man in the image of his Creator. And this quote was said by William Jennings Bryan. Now I'm going to read you a poem from N. Fryman. The best is yet to come. My heart is glad I'm saved by grace. To Christ my life I give. And he prepared for me a place where I with him shall live. In heaven's land, heaven's glory land, we'll live eternally. Our home prepared by Christ's dear hand, and there his face we'll see. Heaven has no sight, Christ is its light. Its sun shall ne'er go down. There clothed will be in garments white, from Christ receive a crown. In heaven with Christ we'll sing, with joy no tears our eyes will dim, and sin shall ne'er our hope destroy, when we're at home with him. Blessed rest with him to live in heaven's land with God's own Son. Even here his peace he'll give, but the best is yet to come. And that was again by N. Fryman. The Swedish translation was by Ethel Larson Palm. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of More Hymn Stories, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, More Hymn Stories number 35. higher ground. Until then, take care and have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye for now. Take care.